Hello, everyone. Hello. We are going to be talking about your childhood and how it has an impact on how you are viewing money. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to be talking to you all about this topic. I love talking to you all about money personalities and also money history. There are two really big factors that really can play a part in how we manage our money. And a lot of times we start with the budget. We start with looking at how we're spending money. We start with just kind of the system itself. And we don't look at the history. We don't take time to think about how did we get to this space? Who am I? How have I learned about money? What is the nature and nurture component of how I have been impacted by money? And so that is what I like to start off with because many times how we have been influenced with money starts at a young age. It starts with our what we call our money imprint. And your money imprint could be something as small as something someone said to you. It could have been something a parent said to you, or a grandparent, or a sibling, and it impacted you in a way that you didn't even realize had happened. And so now you have habits and behaviors and certain things that you do in a way that you interact with money, and you believe that it is just what you have always done. So you think it's just kind of like how you think about money as a whole, but it is some type of thing that has happened in the past that has impacted you. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I wanted to talk about hi everyone. I see y'all coming in the chat. Let me know where you are joining me from. Make sure that you say hi to everyone. And I will be answering any questions. So as I'm going through, if you want to ask a question, make sure that you use hashtag Q. Hashtag Q and then ask your question. That way I can quickly see which ones are questions and which ones are just comments. And I can highlight the questions much more quickly. And that will help us be able to really get through the live, because the chat box can get pretty full. So it really helps me if you put that hashtag Q and then ask your question. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about how your childhood has a big impact on your money, how it transforms how you're able to organize your finances, how it helps you really kind of zone in. And this process really could be something that you don't even realize is happening. So this particular class is from a bigger course that I teach called Budget on Paper. And I have linked it. I put it in the chat box if you're interested in this particular course. It's a $27 course that I have, and I do have it to where you can kind of go at your own pace. And in that course, I talk about your money personality. We talk about your money home, which we're talking about today because there are 4 money homes. We also talk about your budgeting strategy. I talk about the half payment budgeting method, which is a method that I used when I could not pay all my bills out of one check. So let's say I had my mortgage due, I sometimes would pay half of it and then pay the other half later on in the month. So it was a method that I came up with when I needed to pay all my bills, but I could not pay them all out of one check. And so I talk about that in this course. I also talk about the debt reduction strategy, how I reduced my debt, how I paid off $25,000 of credit card debt. And it is a 6-step system. So if you're interested and you want to see like the intro video to the course, I did link it at the top. It is in the chat box so that you are able to look at the link and check it out if you want to. But today what we're talking about, we are talking about one of the strategies or one of the classes that is in the bigger course, and that is your money history and how your money history, how your childhood, that nature versus nurture. We talked about your money personality before. This was a couple of weeks ago when I did a live on your money personalities, and we talked about how there are 5 money personalities. So your 5 money personalities are your nature. That is, you were born that way. No matter how you interacted with anyone, you probably already had this type of personality. And so you already kind of interacted with money that way. The second side of that, though, is your money history. Your money history is more of the nurture side. That is how you grew up, how your parents may have affected how you see money, or how the home that you grew up in and how they interacted with money in that home affected you in the long run. So that is what we're going to be diving into today. So before we jump into it, I love to start off with a question. I love to ask you all this particular question. Put in the chat box for me if you believe your family had money. Y'all had a good money mindset. You felt like you were rich. You felt like you did not have money. How did you feel about money growing up in your house? And I'm asking you this because when I was developing the Budget on Paper course, I asked a bunch of my clients, I asked friends, I asked even my sibling, I asked my brother, okay, what do you think? How did you feel, even though we grew up in the same house, how do you feel about money? Or how did you feel? Did we have it? Did you feel like we had it? And I asked this to one of my friends because she was saying that she grew up in a really big home. So when I asked her, she said, yes, I think that we definitely had money. My family was very rich. We had a pool. Both of my parents made a lot of money. We took amazing vacations. So she identified her money history as wealthy. She was saying, I was definitely wealthy growing up. And so I see that a lot of you I see a couple of no's. I see one yes. We weren't rich, but we had what we needed. And so each person may feel a different way. How do you feel about, did your family have money? And so when I asked this to my friend, like I said, she said, yes, immediately, yes. We had pool, we had a big house, we had everything that we ever needed. I would definitely identify my family as wealthy. And this mindset of the way that you grew up can affect how you view money in the long run. And the reason why is because some of our impulsive spending can come from how we felt about money growing up. If you had a certain lifestyle growing up, you may feel like you deserve that lifestyle now because you are used to it. You are accustomed to it. Were you able to save growing up? Were your parents able to save? That may affect if they taught you about saving. How much debt you have could be affected by your childhood. Your fears, your anxiety, your guilt around money can all be affected with your childhood. And even how y'all talked about money in the house, your money knowledge, was it talked about at the dining room table? Did y'all have those types of conversations? Was investing a topic or was it not? All of those different things affect you in the long run. It affects your money behavior. It affects how you see money. And it also will kind of lean into how you define success. If your parents had certain caliber or certain things and you identified that as successful, as financially successful, then you're going to say, I need this, and this to be successful. And that's how you identify it. And Shantae, I see you're saying we didn't talk about money. We're going to talk about that as well, because that also affected how you interact with money. And so the biggest part of this class is to help you to identify which house you grew up in, and also help you to identify what money behaviors might be affecting the house because of the house you grew up in, right? So the house you grew up in may be attached to certain behaviors, and you may not even realize that you have these behaviors because of the money house, and you don't even know that you may need to adjust or change certain things about the way that we think about money. So you have to kind of know these things. We got to know our money personality, but we also really got to know our money history in order to develop the systems that we're trying to develop around money, in order to change our habits, in order, because 80% of the things that we do with money is around our habit. Only 20% is the actual system. And this is why I talk so much about the psychology of money, why we look at planners, and why I'm talking about, yes, we look at the mechanics, but many times I'm trying to get you into habits and routines, into planning. And I have had so many people tell me, what does planning have to do with money? It has a huge part. It's a huge part of your financial journey, because when we learn this, we learn money habits and routines, and they directly connect to how we spend, how we feel about money, how we behave with our money, and if we even underestimate the journey itself, right? All of that could be affected because of our money personality and our money history. All right. So I see a lot of comments in the beginning. So Olivia, you didn't miss much. You didn't miss much. But the main thing that I was saying is that there are four money houses, and we are going to dive into all four, because those money houses directly affect the how you see money today. And if you may need to change your behavior, if you have certain behaviors that you may not even realize are triggers or things that are happening to you, we want to identify them in this class and help you be able to say, okay, might be something that I need to work on. This might be something that I need to change. And this is a part of a bigger course that I teach called Budget on Paper. And like I said, I linked it above. But it is a $27 course that I have, and it helps you to kind of get back on track. There are a bunch of different topics within that course, and I'm going to save this live, so don't worry. If you need to go back, or you want to click on the link and like look at the video that's associated with the course, you can definitely do that. All right, so the four money houses that we're going to be talking about today, they are pulled from a book that I read. It's Rachel Cruz's book, Know Your Money, I want to say is the name of it. I'm going to pull it up and I'll put it in the description box along with the course, along with everything else. Any resources that I name, I will definitely put it in the description box. And I always save my lives. So if you ever want to go back and watch one of my live streams, click on the live tab when you go to my channel. So you'll see the videos, you'll see videos, you'll see shorts, and then you'll see lives. Make sure that you click on the live part. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. I wouldn't say that we were rich, but I was never told no. That is a great concept, because that is a lot of people as well. Your needs and your wants were taken care of, and that has a direct effect on how we may act later on, because we may impulsive shop a little bit more because we were never told no. And so we start to believe that we deserve certain things because it's always how it's been. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. We learned about money through what was communicated to us with words, right? Different things that was actually said to us. So people will say things like, we don't have McDonald's money, don't ask me for nothing, all of those different things that communicates, because that's direct communication from someone in the house telling us something that we could or could not do around money. So that's through words. But we also learn about money through the emotions of other people around us. So vibes, negative feelings, anxiety, stress. Maybe no one said anything, but you could sense the tension. If you asked for something for school, you could sense that if you were to ask for an outfit or like the tension was going to be there, and it was going to affect, like, even though no one said anything, you could feel it. You could feel it. And so it still communicated something to you, even though the words were not said to you. And so both of these, through words and through emotions and through feelings and through vibes and the negative feelings, or even positivity. Maybe when we had money, we're super happy, and everyone, like, you had a certain feeling around that. So all of that has an effect on how you learned about money, because kids catch on really quickly. And many times we feel like if we haven't said anything, then they don't know. right? Like, oh, they don't know, they're kids, they're just playing. But in reality, you soak it all in. Even at a young age, you're still soaking it in. And I can feel the emotions of the room, and I can feel tension, and then I will adjust accordingly based on that tension. Okay. So this is how we are learning about money on a consistent basis. So the other ways we have learned different things at different times. So just know that just because you started off in one money house, that does not mean that you stayed in that money house. um, a lot of people have experienced life change and that switched their money houses, or they have experienced different things at different times in the house, and that changed how they felt about money. So for instance, if your parents were divorced, and you might have had one house at your dad's house and then a different experience at your mom's house. So if your mom had a lot of money and she, was able to give you everything that you want, then you felt a certain way while you were at your mom's house. And then when you went to visit your dad, it was a different experience. So now you got a different money experience at that house. So that could both be true. And also, siblings can have different experiences and a different money history. Like I said, I will talk to my brother, and he had experienced things that I had not experienced. And it was just because of how we interacted with our parents at different times. So there may be something that happened just with him that did not happen with me, or something that happened with the older sibling that didn't happen with the younger sibling. Maybe the younger sibling got more of what they needed, or by the time the younger sibling came around, there was more money in the house. So they had a different experience and they had different money lessons than the older sibling when times were harder. So all of this matters. All of this matters. And many times we have to think through what all of this means, that just because our sibling didn't experience the exact same things that we did, that does not mean that your lessons aren't valid, or that y'all, like, you're seeing things differently, or that it was different. Maybe it was just a completely, it wasn't the same, and I experienced them at a different place in time. All right. So remember this. Remember this. No, I don't care which money house you come from, no one's money history is perfect. Not one single one of us. We all will have challenges to overcome. And so that's why I always like to talk about this topic. It's because many times you feel like if you came from money, then you should automatically understand money, or you feel like if I didn't come from money, but now I'm up here and I have money now, then all of a sudden I should be okay. I should know this. I should know that. I should blah, blah, right? We will start to beat ourselves up about what we don't know when it comes down to our money knowledge, and what house we grew up in, or how old we are, or how much we've experienced. But if you've never been taught about these particular things, if you've never been taught about the psychology of money, if you've never learned how to break some of the bad habits that you have around money, or even learned that these are bad habits, and think these things through, then there was no way for you to be able to break the cycle. There's no way for you to break the cycle. So none of us are perfect. All of us are on this journey together. And even though I felt like my household was pretty stable growing up, and I learned a lot about money, I still made a bunch of mistakes from my own mindset of what I thought I should have because of the childhood home I grew up in. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the 4 money houses. So I'm going to dive into each one of these, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper and talk about the pros and cons, and probably some challenges that you have had on this as well. Okay. So thank y'all so much. I see y'all in the chat box. If you have a question, remember #Q and then ask your question. I am going to go through a couple of the slides, and then I will definitely answer any of the questions. But thank y'all so much for the love in the comments. I really, really do appreciate it. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into it. The first house is the unstable house. This is a house where money was very stressful here. Money was stressful. Hello, thank you for making it. Money was so stressed. It wasn't there consistently. We didn't always have money here. So, since we didn't always have money, it was a super stressful space. And so, we would kind of tiptoe around the house. And usually, these money conversations were angry because we didn't have it. And we don't want to talk about it because we don't have it. All right. So that's the first house. Put in the chat box if you feel like you had an unstable household. The second one is a fearful house. The fearful money house. Now, this is where everyone's talking about how money doesn't grow on trees. We don't have McDonald's money. We don't invest. I'm afraid I'm gonna lose all my money. Money kind of slips through my fingers. What happened to it? I don't know. We just end up spending it. And now we are so deathly afraid that it is never going to come back to us. So we speak fear all the time around money. It seems so limited and so finite. Like we just can't, there's never enough of it because it just feels like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to have enough. The third house is the unaware house. This is for y'all who put in the chat box that we don't talk about money over here. It was an uncomfortable conversation. It's not something that we chat about. It is not something that we talk about. You pay the bills, you do what you have to do, and we be quiet. No one can bring it up. You can't ask how much anybody makes. It is not a conversation at the table, and we never talk about it. And the fourth house is the stable house. This is where money is pretty much talked about openly. We might have questions if the kids are talking about it at the dinner table. Let's go ahead and open up for conversation. And this is probably the house that probably have the more healthy money habits, but there are still some challenges with this stable household. Even if you are in the stable household, you still can have some money challenges. So we're going to dive into that as well. So these are your 4 money houses. If you already know, then definitely put in a chat box. I see some people are saying the unaware, the fearful house, unaware. I see unstable, fearful. Yes, a lot of people have experienced usually the unstable and the fearful houses. I feel unaware is pretty popular as well. I feel like a lot of people will fall in these categories because, and it's not our parents' fault. That's not what we're saying here, because here's the thing. Our parents got it probably from their parents, and their parents got it from their parents. So these are just things that no one knew. So we may be in an unaware house because no one even knows how to even start the conversation about money. So if I don't even know how to start the conversation, then I'm not going to have it. And it may not be that I'm just trying to set you up for failure. I just don't know what to even tell you to do because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. And so what this kind of helps us to do is identify the house that we grew up in, identify the challenges that we may have with that particular house, and then make some adjustments so that we can start doing things that we really want to do with our money and on our financial journey. And this is a very, very good point, Shelly. It may be a reason why you are afraid to start a side hustle, because if you grew up in a fearful house and you are more likely to be afraid because money feels like finite. It feels like if I lose this money, I'm never going to get it back ever again. Never. It's going to be gone forever. And that fear can stop us from doing so many things. It can stop us from starting a business. It can stop us from quitting a job that we hate. It can stop us from investing. It can stop us from so many things, mainly because we are just deathly afraid of the possibility of losing money and never getting it back. Okay, so this is why we need to identify and kind of going through this. All right. We can easily misidentify the house that we are in. So you may think you know your house off the top of your head, but I'm going to kind of challenge you a little bit to think a little bit deeper. And the reason why is because it is based on our basic memory. And as we get older, sometimes we have like really subconscious memories or subconscious things that we may have blocked out, we're not thinking about. And so I really want you to listen to all four of these sections, even if you feel like you know your section. Even if you're like, nope, I know, I'm a fearful house, that's it. No, I really want you to listen in to all four, because we can easily misidentify, because we're just remembering the top memories that kind of come to our head, the top things about our childhood. And sometimes there are deeper memories that we have forgotten about, and they really kind of identify that our house was another type of house. Okay, so let's go ahead. Remember, I was talking to my friend and I said that she had a wealthy house. Remember, she said they were stable, she was wealthy, she was rich. I just asked y'all the same question. And I was talking to her because I was saying, oh, I wanted to take our kids to Disney World. And I was like, let's go take our kids to Disney World. And she said it was one of her favorite vacations as a kid. She remembered her family getting matching t-shirts and getting them embroidered on them. She remembered going on all the rides and how hot it was that summer. She remembered the road trip. She remembered playing in the car. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that would be so amazing. I can't wait to bring my kids on the same type of trip. And so as she was talking about those trips, though, she also remembered that when they were coming home from this trip, her parents were really quiet. They appeared to be angry with each other. And when they walked inside, their electricity was off. Their electricity was cut off. And the money that they had used to spend on this amazing vacation was bill money. And now that they got home and the electricity was off, her parents started to argue. And it immediately switched from happy-go-lucky family just coming off vacation to an upset home. And now it's kind of like it's just immediately changed from basically a car ride. Once they were happy the entire time until they got to the house. Once they realized those lights were off, everything changed. Everything changed, and now her parents are fighting. Now, remember, she identified as a wealthy household because she remembered the pool and the house and the things that they had. But this is an indication of not a wealthy household. This is an indication of an unstable household. Even though her parents made a lot of money, it was a constant cycle, a consistent cycle of making money and then losing it and not having enough, and then having money and then not having enough, waiting for payday after payday, waiting for thing after thing. So even though she originally identified as wealthy or stable, she remembered having the big house and a lot of money. In reality, they made a lot, but they didn't save a lot. So things were actually unstable. But it took her a while to kind of figure out that it wasn't a stable household, because in her mind, she was thinking about the cars they had, the pool they had, the house they had, and all of these things, and not thinking about the times or the situations where she couldn't get things, or because her parents were fighting, and when the house was quiet and dinner was quiet and they were kind of arguing. She forgot about that part. She was only focusing in on the physical things that they had. So this is an indication that you might have an unstable household. Oh, thank you so much for subscribing. And y'all, please like this video too. Like it. It does help me with the algorithm as well. Okay, let me answer this question real quick. Can you be in a stable but yet not talk about money never appeared to be an issue? Yes. You could be in a stable household and still have no one kind of talk about that. And I will kind of talk a little bit about that later on. But yes, so both of these can kind of be mixed together, where the house itself, like having an unaware household, does not mean that money did not exist. It just means that money was not talked about. So your household was still unaware, even though a stable money household is not about how much money. None of these are about how much money you have or don't have. I don't want y'all to get into the mindset of, oh, if you're in a fearful household, that means you didn't have a lot of money. That is not the case. We are talking about here, how was money talked about in the home, not how much money we have. So even though she identified as having a stable, wealthy household, she had a wealthy household sometimes and then a broke household sometimes, which means that it wasn't stable, it was unstable. But a lot of times we identify when we have money as, oh, we if I have money, then we are stable. No, we can have money and not talk about it at all and still have an unaware household because kids aren't taught, we're not taught about it. We can still have, it's not about how much money the house has. It is about how money is talked about in that house. So we can have money or not have money in any one of these households. I have had people who have had rich, uber rich parents who were still extremely fearful, who was still extremely, extremely fearful when it came down to spending money. So they still put that fear in their kids, even though they had a lot of money, right? So I want you to kind of get out that mindset of this means you have money or don't. This is literally how money is talked about in the house. Either we talk about it or we don't talk about it. And either we talk about it with fear, we are talking about it in a healthy way. We are so unstable that it's kind of like we talk about it sometimes, we don't, it's unstable, or we don't talk about it at all and it's unaware. Okay. So that's kind of like how I want you to think about it. So people who are in the unstable household, usually you have heard someone arguing about money. More than likely, your parents, could have been your grandparents, somebody in this house is arguing. And they are, or there's a lot of tension around money. But you more than likely heard them arguing over money. You felt as though you could not ask for money or ask for anything. Money decisions were usually tense conversations. Money was there one day, gone to another. You're living check to check. There are really high highs and really low lows. And usually the parents are complaining about bills. So, like I was saying with my friend, really high highs, really low lows. She's identifying it as stable initially because she felt like we have money. We have money. But many times what happens is that you remember those high moments, but the low moments affect you in a way that you may not even realize that it's affecting you. Right? So how does an unstable household affect you? How does it affect you? Let's talk about it. You don't like to talk about money. Usually if we start bringing it up, your anxiety, it shoots through the roof. Good. It is good for you to at least be on the class. I'm proud of you for even attending this class, because a lot of people who live in this house or who grew up in this house they don't even want to come to the class. It's a free live and I'm tensing up so bad just from coming, because talking about it makes you feel uneasy. And usually you have negative emotions even when the money topic comes up. You are growing up, it felt like an emotional roller coaster. Sometimes we're good, sometimes we're bad. Our emotions are kind of all over the place, and we could swing unexpectedly from the negative to the positive. You're expecting conflict. You're expecting people to start arguing when it comes down to money. This is why a lot of people may avoid it, because you're expecting it to kind of happen. And you may experience apathy, like you just stop caring. Okay, you know what? I don't even care about money. I'm not worried about it. It is what it is. If I have it, good. If I don't, I'm not worried about it. So all of this could have an effect on you, as you notice, with how you budget your money, because you automatically think it's going to be a negative conversation. You're not going to check your bank account because it's probably not going to be good anyway. So why check it? Why try? Why set up the budget? Why even do this? Right? So, and we're going to talk a little bit about that unaware house too, because a lot of parents felt like this. Like they didn't want to talk about money with their kids because they either felt like the kids could not handle talking about money, or they felt like I can, like, I'm gonna be burdening, I'm gonna put a burden on my children if I share this information with them. I think a lot of times parents especially believe that kids could not handle these types of conversations, or they were not ready for these conversations. But here's the challenging part with that process is that you are going from having years and years of no one telling you anything because you're a child and you need to stay in a child's place. And then you turn like 23 and everyone expects you to know exactly what to do with your money, how to budget it. And you're just supposed to have this perfect budget and be able to handle taxes and everything. And it is an insane thought that you could still have this not be told anything about money growing up, and then still be expected to know all the things about money as soon as you turn an adult, right? It's crazy. So it's like we have to give our kids permission to ask questions. And I promise you, I have seen that comment so often. I've worked with clients who was just like, yeah, they didn't talk about it because you got to stay in a child's place, right? And children, we don't talk to kids about adult things. But this is something that and I get not telling them, you may not want to tell them about your bills, you may not want to do that, but you got to start giving them some sort of responsibility and start kind of telling them about different things. I just my daughters are 8 and 11, and I remember telling them about taxes for the first time. And when I tell you, their mind was blown, like, so wait, you got to pay the government, and when you get your check it's less, and like it was a full conversation. But they were asking so many great questions, and I want to prepare them now because I don't want you to think that when you get your check you're going to get all of it. There, taxes exist. Bills exist. When we turn on these lights, we have to pay a bill. And just things as simple as that, and kind of just walking them through the little things, giving them an allowance, telling them about like letting them pay with their own money, letting them work a little bit with you or cut grass, do chores, all of that will help them start to develop and start to understand money. And so we got to start those conversations earlier. I know in one of the books I read was saying that the best time to start a budget with a kid is like at 8 years old, where they can start kind of knowing what a budget is and like writing it out and helping them budget their own money. So we weren't given this privilege, but the goal is that we do give our kids this privilege, right? That they will kind of be able to learn about these different things at a young age. So if you grew up in an unstable household, these are different things that you can do that can help you to start your money journey. Because like I said, you probably are running from that bank account. You don't like to look at your bank account. You don't want to look at a budget. You don't want to write it down, but you got to start small steps. First thing you need to do is engage. And I'm going to take myself off so that y'all can read this screen. Embrace those money conversations, because this is where it starts. You have the power to take control over all of your money. You really do have way more control than you believe that you do. And it starts with you just opening up your bank account. It starts with you just looking at it. You got to embrace learning. Read books that's going to help you with your journey. Know yourself, know your money. And Happy Money are great books to start out with. Know Yourself, Know Your Money is the Rachel Cruz book that I was talking about that talks about the 4 money houses. I also believe that the course that I'm talking about, Budget on Paper, will really help you, because in Budget on Paper, we talk about your money personality. We talk about your money history. We talk about how knowing yourself is going to help you on your journey, and the small things that you can do, like start opening up your bank account and writing different things down. These are little steps that help you kind of start your path in the right direction. And the next thing that you can do is remember your experience. Don't minimize your experiences. Don't try and hurry up and find the silver lining. Don't try and disregard and just say, you know what, I should be over this by now. I don't worry, I'm gonna have the replay up. So yes, you could definitely catch the replay. Don't worry, don't minimize your experience, don't disregard it. Don't say, oh well, I should be over this by now, because your experiences are valid. They are very, very valid, and they affect you. And so you need to start to journal and kind of figure out, okay, what habit, if I don't want to check my bank account, stop. Why? Why don't I want to check it? What am I feeling right now? Why do I have this anxiety? Let me unpack this. And even sitting and meditating on why you feel the way you feel can help you to take the steps that you need and get past that process of just doing the baby steps to start to take control over those thoughts. Right? So this is all a process, but this is definitely something that you can do that will help you on your journey. All right. So the next house is the fearful house. And I'm going to talk about a friend that I had in high school here who definitely had a stable childhood. And that's what I'm saying. The childhood itself could be stable. You could also have money. And like I said, she was given anything that she wanted. She had the best birthday parties. Her family didn't talk about money, but she knew that they had money. Right? They had it. They had it. They were good. She was getting all this stuff. And then her dad lost his job. And when her dad lost his job, everything changed. Everything changed. And this is why I'm saying you could grow up in one money house and then something could change during your childhood. So her mom started saying things like money don't grow on trees. They ended up moving, and she loved the house that they were in, and they had to move to an apartment because her dad lost his job. Anxiety was really high. Big changes were made without even a discussion. So she wasn't included in any of these conversations because children stay in children's place, right? And so now she is having to make these really big changes, and she doesn't even know why, because no one's discussing anything with her. And then anytime she asks a question, it's almost disregarded. And so her parents had to file for bankruptcy, and instantly she started to become very afraid. She was afraid to ask for anything that cost money. She was afraid to do anything with money. She would disregard things that she wanted because she was so afraid of all of these changes, all of these things that was happening that she was not aware of, that she did not know about. All right. So how does this affect you? If you have money fear, you are stressing excessively about money. And I promise you, in today's economy, if you stress about money, the media will give you more and more and more stress. The media will feed into your stress. It's going to make you constantly worry about money because they keep the headlines coming about how grim and horrible everything is, and inflation and interest rates and student loans and all of these different things will keep you kind of in this cycle. And so you're constantly worrying about getting into debt, even if it's manageable, even if you got it. You hesitate discussing your finances with family and friends because you believe discussing finances will open you and make you look weak. You overwork yourself so you don't feel like you can ever rest, and you always feel like you never have enough money. You end up overspending and you feeling like you never have enough to trigger you. So you just spend money when you have it and when you don't have it. You end up hoarding, becoming a workaholic because you feel like you need to work more and more and more in order to make more money. You feel obligated to support other people, your parents supporting adult children. This is because you're so worried for them. You may hide your purchasing habits from your spouse. You may feel like you can't make more money or you aren't smart enough. So this is for us who know that you have that business deep down. You know you want to start a side hustle. You know you want to kind of do some different things, but you are deeply afraid of starting because you feel like you're not going to be able to do it. You feel like you're going to lose all your money. It is a money fear. And so this can kind of cause us to kind of get in this cycle where we don't make more money, we don't take chances because we feel like we aren't smart enough to do it. And you may not invest, which means you don't have enough for retirement. You don't feel like you're ever going to have enough. So you just kind of put it aside. So this is something that you need to do. All of this can come from a money fear. And yes, this is a big one. Ouch, sounds like me, yes. But paying for people's love is a big part of money fears as well. You're the one that's trying to splurge, trying to give your kids something, trying to give your parents something, trying to buy stuff for your friends. You want the bill on me, all of that. You're trying to buy and pay for people's love because you're so afraid. You're afraid of just not doing it, right? And so all of this can really have an effect on us. So how do we overcome this fearful household? We have to build routines around our money because routines really do provide predictability and stability, which is what we need when we feel really anxious and we feel fearful. Having that emergency fund is crucial. You definitely need an emergency fund because you have to have a set amount that's going to help you feel secure, and you got to take a lot of mental breaks. Gratitude, meditate. Gratitude can really help you in so many areas because money households where you've been in fear is one of those households that starts to make you feel that it makes you focus on all of the things you don't have, right? And so I'm thinking about all the places I want to go, the trips I want to take, the car I don't have, the house I don't have, and how this is what. But when you practice gratitude and you start thinking about all the things that you do have, it flips. You can't think about the things you don't have and the things you do at the same time. That you can't take up the same mental space. So this is why it's so important. Thank you. I'm hoping that we are connected forever now. But I promise you, I think, oh, this is good. I finally have a vision for myself and the action steps needed for triggering fears. This is good. Let me tell y'all, I promise you, I have been wanting to get more and more into the money, like psychology of money, for a while because I've been talking a lot about planning and organizing and budgeting, and I love all of those topics. We will still stay there. Don't worry. I'm not going to give up planning or talking about money anytime soon. But the psychology of money is so deep, and it really is like 80% of this. I know we talk about like budgeting and all this other stuff, but a big part of this is also making more money. Because if you can make more money, then you kind of can alleviate all of these other issues. The problem with making more money is that a lot of people have a deep fear that they can't. They can't. Like they just feel like they can't make it. So they instantly kind of get into this space of they get into the space of I can't make more money, but I don't have enough. And now it's this cycle of kind of beating myself up. I'm exchanging time for money, and now I'm just constantly here. So we have to get over we have to get past the mindset, which is the psychology of it all, to start to believe that we can. And then it starts to change everything. So yeah. Shantae, it's a great book. It is a great book. If you haven't read The Psychology of Money, read it. Get it on Audible. Listen to it in the morning while you're getting ready and heading to work. It is a great book. One of my favorites. One of my favorite money books. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it because I'm still going. All right. Unaware house. The unaware house. If you grew up in a home where money was not discussed, we didn't talk about it here. You probably didn't worry about money at all. You didn't even think about it, right? Everything seemed fine. You had no idea what was the state of your parents' situation. They could have had a lot of money. They could have had no money at all. There was no open conflict. You were just completely oblivious to what was going on. Now, this might seem like a good environment, but it is not. It is not. So let me tell you, I picked this quote from Rachel Cruz's book, Know Yourself, Know Your Money. And she described this situation like this. This type of environment reminds me of a group of people on a party boat without a captain. Everyone is having a great time and enjoying the sunset, but no one knows where they are going. No one is leading. No one wants to. Why rock the boat with questions and start giving directions? Everyone is happy. So let's just let the good times roll. Meanwhile, the boat is drifting and no one cares. Powerful, big. This is one of the biggest things about the unaware house because no one's trying to do it. We're not saving for retirement. We're not saving for travel. We don't have a repair account. So everything is good until it's not, until life happens and it throws us completely off. And whenever that happens, we kind of can't catch up. We don't know what to do. So this is why we have to, being in an unaware house is just as bad as being in any of the other ones, just as bad as being in a fearful one or an unstable one. It can still affect us. So sometime, because at some point, somebody's going to be like, where is this boat going? Where are we going? Do we have enough for retirement? Do we have enough supplies? Can we pay all our bills? Do we make enough money? What happens if a storm comes? What about food? And it's natural to have these conversations, but if you live in an unaware house, these conversations are not happening. We are not talking about this at all. We are oblivious to where we are and where we're going and how the boat is doing. And so it is important that we kind of zoom in and make sure that we're having those important money conversations. Okay. So I had another friend who said her house was happy and wonderful growing up. Her parents never fought about money. She wasn't spoiled, but she had everything that she needed. They took vacations. Her mom told her that they had a way to a happy marriage. The way to a happy marriage was not to discuss money at all. Because if we discuss money, then we could cause tension. So let's just not talk about it. Right. And anytime they were lacking in money, her mom would not go to her dad. That was not the case. Her mom would just use the credit card. Just use the credit card. And then I just wait until we get paid. And now she's realizing as an adult that her parents were not in a good financial situation because they had a lot of credit card debt, very little savings, almost no retirement, and they never talked about money. And it wasn't until she got older that she realized that they were like getting or supposed to be getting ready to retire and they weren't retiring. And so when she finally started to ask about it, her mom was like, oh, no, we don't talk about it, but we're just going to keep working because they didn't have any retirement. They couldn't retire. And so, of course, for her, this started to become a challenge for her because she was thinking, okay, what happens when they can't work anymore? Now I'm thinking about it because I'm their adult kid and I might have to take care of them. And so this is a very dangerous household as well. How does this affect you? You can feel very betrayed in this house because your parents didn't teach you how to handle money. No one talked about it. And although it was fine when you were growing up, you can feel very, very like challenged and like I'm adrift. No one told me anything. I don't have any knowledge. I don't know how to fluctuate. I don't know how to set budgets. I don't know how to not overspend. I am under saving. Usually you don't even try and multiply your wealth. You have no knowledge at all. And it costs you when you don't have knowledge, because you don't understand interest rates and you don't know how to negotiate loans and you don't know what's good and what's not. You don't know how debt works. You don't know how much you're supposed to spend on this credit card. You don't know anything. So this affects you so much because you feel lost when it's your turn to do it. You feel completely lost. All right. So how to overcome this? Try your best not to ignore money yourself, because many times this can become a cycle. It's like if your parents don't talk about it, you don't talk about it, and then nobody kind of talks about it. We just kind of keep this cycle going of this adrift boat, and everyone's just kind of here. And so you really need to start tracking and reminding yourself, keeping yourself accountable. You may need to start setting alarms. You would probably want to be the best person to get an accountability partner or get someone that you trust. Of course, I would love for you to book a one-on-one with me. But even if you're not at the space where you want to book a one-on-one or you don't feel like you could definitely start looking at like the course that I have, the Budget on Paper, or watch some of my YouTube videos, just kind of starting to get familiar with these topics and these concepts of the money routine, the money personality, the money history, all of these different things that we are talking about, planning your life, looking at events, starting to think about how these things are going to affect you in the long run. I just did a video on investing, how to start investing. So all of this is little steps. Even if you watch one YouTube video a day, even if it's not mine, watch one YouTube money video a day, every single day, so that you can kind of start getting into the habit of thinking, talking, listening, doing anything with money. This will start to help you to start to change that mindset of I'm just going to close my eyes and not think about it, not talk about it. Start reading different books. I love listening to podcasts on the topic. You just want to do whatever's going to make you feel comfortable. If you don't have time to read, then listen to Audible or listen to podcasts. You don't have time for that, then watch a YouTube video at night before you go to bed. Make it a 5-minute video. Something, just do something, right? Because it's not the big steps. We don't lose 50 pounds in a week. We lose it day by day doing a 20-minute workout, right? And it happens over time. And it's the same thing with your money journey. You're not going to start saving thousands of dollars in 2 months. But what you will do is you start to get knowledge, and then you start saving $50. And then you start to budget $45. And then you start to pull aside your cash envelopes. And then you try that. And then you try this, right? And over time, all of a sudden, you just get better and better. All right. The last house is the stable house. The last house is the stable house. This is where money is discussed openly, emotionally calm environment. It's not perfect, but the family does practice good money habits in this house. You don't have to be wealthy to be in this house. You don't have to be wealthy to be in this house. Kids are usually included in the financial conversation here, which is great. We love to keep kids included. Parents are open discussions at the dinner table. It is a wonderful experience. Oh, Anita. Hey, Anita. Yes, we just had a one-on-one together. And it was wonderful. Love helping. I really do love doing one-on-ones with y'all and helping you on your journey. So kids are included. You definitely want to keep them in the mix of all of this as well, because how this affects you, though, even if you have this stable household, even if you're talking about kids, because I grew up in a stable money house. I definitely did. My parents were very open. My parents would talk to me. Now, the only thing they were not too open with is investing, and that's because they really didn't do much. Like, they invested through their job, and then that was it. And I think that they didn't understand it that much, but they did enough. Because my dad was a teacher, so he had the teacher's fund, and my mom worked for the government too. So they just had good benefits, and it just kind of worked out for them. But everything else they talked about. Now, here's the thing where even if you grow up in a stable household where you could still veer to the left, you can underestimate what it takes to do this. Because just because your parents were good with money, it does not mean that you will automatically be good with money. I tell y'all that all the time. I literally thought that I was just automatically going to be good with money because my parents were good with money. And when I tell y'all, I got into a whole bunch of financial debt in my college years because I was like, oh, my parents are pretty good with credit cards and they know what to do. So I know what to do too. And I did not. Because I just completely underestimated what it would take to actually do what they did. I underestimated it. So I thought that I just was good because they were good. And even though they taught me the things, just believed that, oh, it's easy because they did it, and it was not. And I just I messed myself up. I got myself $25,000 in debt, and then I had to work it off. And I talked to y'all about that in the Budget on Paper course, where I talk about how I paid it off, because I got myself in a lot of trouble. And the second thing that this could do for you is it makes you feel entitled sometimes. You expect to have their standard of living too soon, because you underestimate how long it took them to get there. So I grew up in a very stable household. My parents did have like the house, the cars, 2 cars, all of this stuff. And so I wanted to have all of those things like in my early 20s. And I didn't have the jobs that they had by the time I recognized what they were in their like late 30s by the time I started to notice, because my mom didn't even have me until she was 30. So by the time I even knew what was going on, I was probably like 11 or 12. And so she's 42 with all of these things. And I'm trying to get all of these things at 23 because I felt entitled, because I had the same thing that they had, right? Like I'm supposed to have the same thing because they were good with money. So I'm automatically good with money. So I should have all of these great things too. I should have the house, the car, all of this stuff too. So it can really affect you as well. So you really, really got to pay attention to how it may overall affect you if you feel entitled or not. If you feel entitled or not. If you want to book a one-on-one, I will post it. Let's see if I can put it. Here's the link. I just put it in the chat box, but it is my link to book with me if you want to do that as well. I love talking to y'all as well one-on-one. But I know you can do a discovery call. The discovery call is free. It's a 15-minute free call where you could just jump on, kind of tell me what's going on, and then I can kind of tell you how our sessions would go. If you want to skip the discovery call because you know what you need, there's also the organization session, and the session I want to say is like 85 or something like that. But if you can't do that, I also have the Budget on Paper. Budget on Paper is 27. So if you're saying Budget on Paper course, yes, it is a full course. It's like a 6-week course, but it's broken down to where you can kind of do it on your own time. All right, let's go. How do you overcome if you feel like you have been in this stable household, you feel entitled, you feel like you deserve all of these things? You still got to apply the principles. I'm telling you, when I did this, I got myself in a whole bunch of trouble. And then I realized, wait, I need to do all the things that they did to get where they got. And it wasn't as easy as I thought. So I had to apply the principles that my parents actually taught me. I had to be disciplined, I had to be focused, I had to write down the lessons, start to remember, start to reflect. And that is what led me here, because I started my journey in 2012. And when I was 5 years into my journey, I started the Organized Money because I wanted to teach other people how to do their journey as well. So it was the biggest blessing of my life. But I think that even if you grew up in a stable money household, that does not mean that you will automatically know how to just handle and do all of the things, right? It still may take you a while. So that's okay. All right. So what does this mean? As you think through your childhood, I want you to think about what we've learned today, how your houses could have possibly changed through your life. I want you to, like, I started out actually in the fearful household because my parents didn't have a lot of money when we grew up. But by the time I got older, I was in a very stable one. But if your parents got divorced, if they got married, if they got remarried, if you lost a job, if they started a business, all of this could affect your house. All of it could affect your house. So I want to think of, I don't want you to think about just one time. I want you to think about different seasons of your life. Think about high school. Think about elementary school. Think about where you were in college. Think about when you started to get on your own. How did this happen? And if your parents is not in an unaware house and they still won't talk to you about money, talk to your parents. Ask them, Ask them different questions if they are able and willing to have those conversations. If not, talk to siblings, because the more people you can kind of get to kind of jog your memory about different things that have happened, the better this process will be for you. The better you will start to identify what could have happened, and you start to heal from that. Don't disregard therapy. Do not disregard it. It is definitely something that you could possibly do that can help you process all of these different things, because once again, we're learning all of this just so we can get to the space of building a solid system that's going to work for us. And knowing your personality, knowing your history, knowing your triggers, all of that matters when we're trying to build up and start to create our money system or our money plan or our money habits, our routines, right? Sometimes we got to do certain things in a certain way so that we can make sure that we're able to stick to it. And that comes down to knowing our history and asking the right questions. All right. So thank you all so much for joining me. I put the link to book a one-on-one if you want to do that, but I also put the link to Budget on Paper in the chat box as well. I will put it in the description box once we jump off. I definitely highly recommend that you try and look at some of these things. Go back, watch this video again, break down the different houses, look at all of the recommendations that I gave you if you grew up in any one of these houses. And if you have another money topic that you want us to dive into, I have been trying to do some money psychology types of topics lately. So if you have something that you've been struggling with, maybe it's financial anxiety, maybe it's planning itself or starting your budget planner, it could be anything. Put it in the chat box, put it in the comment box, let me know, and we can definitely dive into it. All right. So I hope to see you all later. Please remember to like this video, and I will see you all in my next live. All right. Y'all have a good one. Bye.